As the delegations approach the Five Eyes Alliance Economic Summit, cyber risk awareness has become more apparent as its network has already experienced attack activity, including denial of service and ransomware attacks. In all likelihood, these attacks were simply tests of Summit defenses and network resiliency. In order to protect the productivity and integrity of this summit, we should prepare for additional situations that are more elaborate and highly coordinated multi-pronged attacks by well-funded, highly sophisticated actors. A major consideration for those defenses is the development of the software to be used by the summit, both in conducting day-to-day business and performing defensive activities. My name is Jay Tortona, and I'm the Australian delegation's representative to the Combined Cybersecurity Advisory Team for the summit. This briefing will highlight process risks and attributes and make recommendations for development.
As the content in the summit is generated by and for policymakers, the primary priority for software development is to ensure that data can be collected, processed, stored, and transmitted in a manner that protects the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Development time is limited, so simplicity and speed are a special consideration in new software development. As the summit itself is of relatively short duration, defenses have to prioritize known attack vectors and techniques, with a secondary consideration for developing attack vectors and tools, including artificial intelligence. We expect disruptive attacks, such as denial of service, ransomware, malware, and data exfiltration attacks will be the most prevalent. The user population should be relatively small, so access controls can be confined in their scope while not sacrificing sophistication. We also expect that software will need to be regularly and proactively updated. Therefore, we require a development team that will remain engaged throughout the summit. The development life cycle and choice of methodology will be highly dependent upon the available resources, including personnel and time. Multiple delegations from different countries will require special consideration. As these delegations are backed by national budgets, cost is not a constraining factor, though it will still factor into our final decision making. The short duration and limited user base of the summit allows for a relatively simple and concise software development process that does not require elaborate or overly sophisticated characteristics. While there are several models available to us, a simple waterfall development model that develops and updates the software as various iterations are completed may be in the best interest of the summit. There are a myriad number of risks to the development of any software for the summit. Representation of multiple countries by delegations that have their own requirements, customs, and languages will make a unified internal software development process fairly problematic and possibly create gaps in security. Intellectual property protections that are unique to each delegation's country also make sharing of data and integration difficult. There are limited resources, especially personnel, which are present and have operational experience with all of the delegations. Therefore, the natural focus will be on third-party vendor or open-source software development. However, public use and availability of those packages make their weaknesses widely known and exploitable. In addition, uncoordinated use of various vendor packages may contain incompatibilities that create additional gaps in software security. When considering the development of additional software, summit management will have to measure risks that are acceptable, can be remediated, or can be avoided. The primary issues with current software is the fact that it has already been penetrated, meaning that bad actors already have some information on software, access controls, and established defenses. In addition, the probability that there is already undetected resident malware present is higher, as a ransomware attack and denial of service attack may have been feints designed to preoccupy, screen, or distract cyber defense personnel from the implantation of malicious code. In addition, attackers now know what software and defenses are currently deployed, giving actors both time and a limited field in which to focus their efforts and attack vectors. Software development may come from several different areas. The least likely for the summit will be internal development, as resources are limited. Considering the limited duration and scope of the summit, it may make sense to consider an off-the-shelf solution, such as that provided by a third-party vendor or open-source solution. A third-party vendor should offer expertise and experience, ongoing service and updates, and a recovery plan and recourse in the event of a successful intrusion. Open source will provide expertise and experience, but ongoing updates and recovery from successful intrusion require strong coordination from our internal personnel. Naturally, the cost for a third-party vendor will be much higher than open source up front, but the lack of service, recovery, and recourse could potentially be more significant. As indicated before, we recommend using a waterfall methodology for software development for its simplicity and ability to cover short duration and minimally complicated scenarios. We don't wish to sacrifice sophistication or effectiveness of the resulting software, however. For software, we recommend utilizing an external third party. The expertise and experience is particularly valuable as the knowledge of threats and attack vectors needs to be as current as possible, as external threats can be very sophisticated and well-resourced. The ongoing servicing and updates, an established recovery and incident response plan, and recourse are particularly attractive characteristics for the type of limited needs and requirements of this summit. Costs will remain a secondary consideration as the delegations are backed by national budgets, and global defense and intelligence is a high and valuable priority. Service-level agreements with these third-party vendors should include specific language that addresses the needs and expectations for the summit's software development and management. That language should include the defined effective period of the contract, expected servicing requirements, equipment and user pool that is expected to have access, and requirements for the vendor's portion of the business continuity plan. These requirements should specify performance needs, recovery thresholds, and resiliency and confidentiality requirements and expectations. Finally, agreement on cost, insurance, and recourse is required to execute the final agreement.
A comprehensive plan for the development and inclusion of various software packages for use by users, operations, and vendors at the summit is a high priority. The sensitivity, limited scope, and high budget capacity suggest that a simple development process with standardized products created with specialized expertise is appropriate for the summit. Third-party vendors with significant experience and expertise relieves much of the burden on the delegations to provide and coordinate network defensive measures with other countries. Thank you for your attention today. Please forward any questions or requests that you may have to the Australian Delegations Discussion Board. Thank you.